Hello and welcome to the Kerry Garden Show from my very squeaky shed. Yes, Alan Finn here with you in my back garden because that's pretty much where we're all gotta be at the moment. We've had a great couple of weeks of weather, but one thing that we might need to look at and try and work on is our lawn. How green is it? How do you want it for the season ahead? Well, this week on the Kerry Garden Show, we've got a garden lawn expert joining us today. He's down in Boyles, so I've got to hop in the car and head down and meet him. So joining us this week on the Kerry Garden Show, we're delighted to have a lawn expert all the way from Gold Crop Company, who's well renowned in this field, shall we say. It's Peadar McDonald. Peadar, you're very welcome to the Kerry Garden Show. How are you?
Very good, thank you very much for the invite.
Did you like my cheesy joke? You're an expert in your field.
Expert. Outstanding in my own field.
Outstanding in your own field. So listen, it is, obviously we've had a lovely stretch of weather the last 2 weeks, and a lot of people are kind of looking at their lawns. So we're going to focus on lawns and stuff like that. But before we start, just tell us a little bit about Gold Crop itself. Where are you based and what sort of stuff do you do?
Gold Crop, it formed since 1986. It was the brainchild of Finbar and Michael Murphy. Previously, there were management in Sutton's, and Sutton's were closing that side, that business. Mm-hmm. So Michael and Finbar took it on, and we, as young people at the time, kept on working with them. And 45 years later, I'm still there.
You're still
well,
here.
Not from 86, obviously, but no, it's gone from strength to strength, thank God. And there's probably up to between 70 and 100 people working in the company now, between Gold Crop, Killavullen, Carricktool, and in Dunleer, across all spheres, cereals, silage wrap, back down to the amenity side, golf courses, covers a huge range.
Great. So anyone who's been out playing in all 18 holes might have been playing on some of your grass.
Well, I'd say, especially down this neck of the woods, definitely.
It's very possible.
It's probably a certainty, I'd say.
Yeah, great. You know. Good stuff. Okay, so let's talk about it though. This time of the year, Peadar, you were saying to me earlier before we started, it's a very, very busy time because there's a lot of planting going on. There's a lot of crops being planted and stuff like that. But let's focus on the garden. You've got two fantastic products here in front of us here. Landscaper Pro. Tell us a little bit about those.
Well, Landscaper Pro would be the leading 3-in-1 feed on the market. Up to about 2 years ago, it only came in a bag called Renovator Pro, which was sold into the professional, the amenity, like the golf courses and the likes of the big, sports field arenas. Mm-hmm. And ICL decided then that they would bring a smaller bag and call it Landscaper Pro, the exact same ingredients as the Renovator. Mm-hmm. Into the ordinary, a retail market in a 15 kilo bag. Yeah. It is the leading brand on the market, and it does a very good job, especially from this time of the year on now. Yeah, okay. It might have been a little bit harsh, even though the weather has been dry. I'd always be advising people, when things get a bit milder and there's a bit of moisture in the soil, use the product. You get a better response from any chemical or fertilizer.
So would that tend to be like from April on normally?
From next week on, first week of April, that's the products to start using then.
Yeah.
It depends on what's in your lawn. Then I have a kind of a rule of thumb. If you have a lot of moss in your lawn, you need to treat that moss separately, either with sulphate of iron or with a liquid. There's a product called Moss Out, which is a liquid, or you can get straight sulphate of iron. We sell a lot of the Moss Out, but at the same time, it pays in significance with the amount of sulphate of iron that's sold. And what amazes me, sulphate of iron is invariably spread either in a spreader, which is very difficult, or by hand. And you need to put on protective gloves because it'll stain your hands. And do not let any animal walk on the lawn, or a dog or a human for that matter, and walk onto a patio because it will stain your patios afterwards. And I'd be trying to encourage people to use the Moss Out, because you can put it into a knapsack sprayer and use your knapsack sprayer. It's not going to clog it, and you're not going to have an issue with blinding yourself with the sulphate of iron, because fellas will be saying they pollute through it. It's a very light powder. Now it does the trick. Now,
and especially as well too, because if the wind catches
the wind swells it. You need a mask, you need goggles. It's not going to do you any harm, but put it like this. You prefer them not to be tasting sulphate of iron in your mouth.
Absolutely.
But the liquid one, very, very easy to use, and if you use it, spray it north and south and east and west, so that you're not left with boxes in your lawn.
Okay.
But my rule of thumb is that if you have more than 20% moss in your lawn, you should really spray it or use the sulphate of iron.
Okay.
The 3-in-1s are very effective on where there's less moss.
Okay.
But if you have a lawn full of moss, do not expect your 3-in-1 bag to solve your problem. It'll cover other areas like your daisies, buttercups, dandelions like that, but it's not going to do if you have a complete wash of moss on your lawn.
Yeah. So the first thing, obviously, as you said then, before using this, because it would be a waste, would be to treat the moss first. And you're saying, obviously, with the handy little moss out, with the liquid sprayer and the knapsack, which I suppose a lot of gardeners would have.
Most people have, and it's not people be afraid that they'd block the nozzles with them. No, it's not going to happen with that. If you decide to put the sulphate of iron and liquidize that and put in, it's possible you'll block your nozzles with that compound because it's not geared. There is a product called Meltstar, which is more expensive.
Right. And we don't obviously then want to do any damage to any of the other flower beds or products or vegetable patches or anything like that. So we try
again, you're not going out on a windy day with any of these products. Sprays.
Yeah.
Like you have to in all these 3-in-1s and in this product here, you have MCPA, which could and Mecacrop, they can damage plants, like if they blow onto them. Like so, you just have to use your common sense. You're not going to.
Have a chat to the gang in here, obviously, if you're buying it and just stuff, because you're not going to be here all the time.
I'm not going to be here all the time, exactly.
We'll leave your number and we'll give you a call.
Very good.
But so the triple action, that's the 3-in-1, and then this one is especially for spring and summer. So what's the difference with this one? Has it got less nutrients, or you'd come along, say you use this, as we said a while ago, maybe from first week of April on. Okay.
That will feed your lawn for the next 2 to 3 months, and then that weans a little bit then. So you come along here then with this product, which is just a straight fertilizer, which it's different so far. It is a slow release, so it'll give a 3-month period of slow release nitrogen into your thing. In other words, the old-fashioned day was you got a bag of 18-6-12, threw it out in your lawn. The first couple of weeks you were mowing silage. You couldn't get out. You could go after tea every day. It just blew it. Whereas these products are geared to slowly release the nitrogen over a 3-month period. So that will take you right through into the end of August, first week of September, and you can get the equivalent as an autumn. Exactly.
One as well.
An autumn one kicks in then. Now, the reality is that I'd say probably 9 out of 10 people that use this product, they get a bit tired then when they come to June, July, and they're not, they kind of forget then that they need to top it up again.
Right.
So this is a big seller. This is sold maybe 10, I'd say about 10% of people come along after and use that. But to keep your lawn in pristine condition right through the year, you need to follow. Over the period.
Okay, great. And then in regards to some people who might think that sure, look, any old fertilizer will do, and will drive the lawn and stuff like that. It's not the case. There can be quite a big difference in regards to the standard of, as you said, the amount of nutrients and how the slow release is a huge part of it. So what about in case of someone who's had a rough winter? The lawn is not looking great, maybe not with moss, but there's a couple of bald patches and stuff like that. When would be good to kind of throw down the patches? Is it still to throw down seeds on those sort of patches and get that sorted?
There's no problem, but maybe slight bit early, yet maybe in a week or two I would consider doing that. The one thing that you might look at if you planted a number 2 lawn seed into it, go back and get as near as you can to the equivalent mixture that you put in.
Okay.
So in other words, like you don't want if you do these bald patches, you don't want 20 bald patches around the place and they all super rich green and the rest of the lawn looks crap.
Quite right.
Try and get it blend in as best you can. In other words, that if you purchased number 2 lawn seed from Boyles 3 years ago, and you come back in and you purchase number 2 lawn seed again, you'll match up those patches. You know where I come from.
And is there a huge difference?
Well, you can get. There's lots of different number. People go into a shop and say, "Can I get a number 2 lawn seed?" But if you want a real nice pristine lawn at the end of the day, look for premium Gold Crop Premium lawn seed.
Okay.
It has that finer, you'll get a far finer finish. There's different people just put a label on the bag and say number 2 lawn seed, but there is a multitude of varieties that go into that.
So if we're looking for a bit of an old Fitzgerald Stadium kind of surface, we need to kind of go for the premium.
Well, you need to
I know you would have said Parky Queeve now, but I'm going Fitzgerald Stadium because you're in Kerry.
Well, we're very proud of both of them because we, over the years, Gold Crop would have contributed seed to both of them. Yeah. And as the present situation in Parky Queeve is that Gold Crop have been the seed suppliers as in the redone Parky Queeve.
Okay.
Because it had the first lot failed, but I'd say, look, really, it wasn't. It was a drainage problem more so than anything else. But we were lucky; we didn't get the contract the first time around, so we were back in the second time. So they have a massive job. But the amount of work, you just don't. You won't get a premium lawn on anything by just. It takes time. It takes work.
Yeah.
It's a labour of love.
Yeah.
And as a friend of mine who's in the auctioneering business, he says, if you go to sell a house and there's a nice lawn, it's the first thing everyone sees come in. Oh my God, look at the. It's an impact, and it adds great value to not alone for the person's mental health, but for the value of your home. Like.
Yeah. Because there's also the whole thing as well. We were talking about the moss, and I know we mentioned it before as well too with Trish. Is when you're putting out the sulphate of iron and the moss goes all black and you have to scar it away and stuff. There is a bit of work, but at the end of the day, when you're sitting out and it's a lovely fine day here in Kerry over the summer, and your lawn is looking beautiful and pristine, there's nothing like it. It really is. It's a lovely feeling to just have that.
Well, Alan, you have a good point there, and that's one thing I neglected to mention. If you can get a Scarifying from a tool hire company, it is a super product. Okay. It's like a breath of fresh air. You open up and let air into to a couple of inches of the soil. And if you wanted to overseed then with a bit of seed over that in a nice moist evening, great job.
Okay.
But the Scarifying along with applying these products, if you have a big issue with moss, it's a very good tool to have in your armoury.
And you just made another one as well too. You talked about the evening. Is there an ideal time when to kind of put down your seed? Because if you put it together down on the ground and it's a very hot day, it mightn't be great. So you're saying, would the evening time be better when there's a bit of moisture there?
Well, I think the critical thing would be to have a bit of moisture in the soil before you top dress anything. It's not if you're putting down a new lawn and you've the place all reddened and everything, roll it in, it's fine. But if you're top seeding and just doing patches things like that, it needs a bit of moisture in the soil. Okay. Either give it if you have a sprinkler, all the better. But not to over water it either. Like you don't want.
Because obviously, and again, you mentioned there with Parky Queeve, and I suppose a lot of people's gardens as well too, because we're heading into April and we can get a lot of showers, so drainage can be an issue as well too. So what about the listener who might be here and talking about, look, there's an awful wet patch in my ground, in the garden, and I'm afraid to put anything in it. What sort of advice would you give to someone who might have a garden that needs a bit of a drainage?
Well, look, if the easiest way out of it, if you have a good garden fork, just give it a good aeration and stand on your fork and walk it around.
And
get the area. If the place is a bog, I don't know a whole lot you can do about it, I suppose.
Move house. You're thinking
move house.
If only we could all do that.
But like a good, the fork is a great job. Again, goes back to just opening up the soil, letting air in, and letting nature take its course.
Of course, because we've talked about before that over the winter time and even over the course of the summer, autumn, the ground can get quite compact, and that doesn't really help the actual overall health and condition of the lawn. So forking it, getting it down,
it's never doing any harm at all. If you have a half an acre of a lawn, you're a bit silly going around. But if you're inside in say in Killarney or in Cork City and you have a 300 or 400 or 500 metre square lawn, and you want to keep it nice, it's no harm at all just to give it a fork every so often, to freshen it up.
Yeah, excellent. Right, well listen, that's great, and we have we've talked as well too about, we have the Diclofar here, which is a weed killer, because of course weeds are also a big problem as well too, and everything's kind of growing at the moment. So that's another great product. We've spoken about it here before.
I would use that in a situation again. This is ideal, but ideal to take out a limited amount of daisies, buttercups, dandelions. But if you have a lot of creeping buttercup, a lot of dandelions in your lawn, you need to use something like this. Now, unfortunately, all the amenity products in the lawn care they're classed as amenity now for a specific reason. They're not as strong as what they were 10, 12 years ago.
Of course, yeah.
The local farmer who's going out spraying his daisies and dandelions or docks in his field, that's a different level.
Yeah.
And for safety reasons, the chemical ratio inside in these have been cut back.
Of course.
So in other words, you might have to apply that a second time during the season to fully get it. Some people might say to me, the diclofenac did a fair enough job.
Yeah.
Well, it's as simple as this. You're not going to. It might need a second shot again, maybe in 6 weeks' time or something like that.
Okay.
And that in conjunction with mowing. That's another critical thing. People have a lawnmower, and it's as someone described to me, he's getting a very bad cut, and a friend of mine said, "Then, well, do you sharpen your mower?" And he said, "I never got it sharpened." I said, "I have it 3 or 4 years." Well, your man said, "Well, would you like to be shaving with the same razor that you got 3 years ago?" So sharpening of a mower
is another
very critical. Exactly.
So again, the grass is getting a cleaner cut, and obviously that then can help the growth following on.
If you saw a mower, the cut between a mower that's sharpened regular and a cut between a mower that was never sharpened, say, since it left the box, you'll notice there's jagged edges on the thing. So if you mentioned Fitzgerald Stadium there, Park Keefer Truck Park, those mowers are sharpened once a week.
Yeah.
You know, literally, like.
So literally, and again, this is the sort of stuff. So before the season starts, or before you've had your first cut, bring it to a lawnmower dealer
and get it sharpened, because it'll make a huge difference in conjunction with
these
the thing.
products.
It's an overall package.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, as we spoke already, it's putting it all together, getting all the work together, and again, these products will work best when you do all of these little things.
One will lead into the other.
Yeah. That's great. Listen, thanks a million for joining us, Peadar, for filling in, and great to have an expert. So we'll all have beautiful lawns now. You might have to come back and check me in a couple of months, Peadar, and see how my lawn is looking. That's it from the Kerry Garden Show this week. Thanks again to our guest, Peadar, from Gold Crop, for giving us some advice. Hopefully it's given you plenty to think about, and we'll see you again next time here on the Kerry Garden Show on Radio Kerry. Happy gardening.